Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. And you've made it. It is Friday, and that means FOMO Friday here on the podcast. We love to dispense of your fear of missing out. You're not listening to propaganda media anymore, and we want to make sure you stay up to date on the things that are going on around you and around the world. And so from a series of articles from the Daily Wire comes this very first one. It's the big one of the week, of course. It is huge. President Donald Trump on Monday signed the historic Gaza peace deal, surrounded by approving world leaders who celebrated the president as a pivotal peacemaker and called for him to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Quote, "I think you are the man that this world needed most at this point in time," said the Pakistani prime minister. His last name is Sharif, and that's what he told Trump, who listened quietly and attentively. Quote, "The world will always remember you as a man who did everything and went out of the way to stop 7 and today 8 wars." The president met with the hostages and their families on Monday after the hostages were released by Hamas. Then spoke with the world in public remarks in Israel, and he then traveled to Egypt. Yeah, busy time for the president. He went to Egypt, where he participated in a Middle East peace summit with other world leaders and the United States, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey signed the much discussed peace deal before the world. And, quote, "It took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it?" Trump said as he signed the historic deal. And it's going to hold up, too. He also received the Order of the Nile from the president of Egypt, the country's highest state honor, for negotiating the deal between Israel and Hamas. The Order of the Nile is a collar made of solid gold, covered in covered in like these engravings, kind of a pharaonic engravings. According to the New Arab, it represents wealth and endurance, protection from evil, prosperity brought by the Nile. Quote, "Today, for the first time anyone can remember, we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to put the old feuds and bitter hatred behind us," Trump said, as he took the podium after signing the deal. He said, "If we do, together we will reach the Middle East's incredible destiny, a safe and prosperous, a beautiful crossroads of culture and commerce, faith and humanity." He also said, monumentous breakthrough that we're here to celebrate tonight is more than the end of the war in Gaza. He said that with God's help, it will be a new beginning for an entire beautiful Middle East. From this moment forward, we can build a region that's strong and stable and prosperous and united, and in rejecting the path of terror once and for all. He also shared that there will be a lot of money coming into Gaza, that there will be that'll be used to help rebuild the region, not for terrorism, like what had been happening for the last 10 years or more. He said, "I'm pleased to announce that numerous countries of great wealth and power and dignity have come forward to me just today and over the last week to say that they want to help in the reconstruction of Gaza, putting up whatever money is necessary," Trump said. And the money, of course, it's a lot of money, but it's not just about, it's not much compared to the value of the wealth of these tremendous countries. And they are ensuring stability and success in the Middle East. Rebuilding is maybe going to be the easiest part, is what Trump noted. We know how to build better than anybody in the world. He acknowledged that across the Middle East, um, but particularly in Gaza and in Israel, people have been working, striving, hoping, and praying for peace. That day has finally arrived, the president said. They have done things over the last month that I think were really unthinkable. Nobody thought this could happen. With the historic agreement we've just signed, those prayers of millions have finally been answered. As he reflected on the footage of the hostages finally reuniting with their families, Trump said that the level of love they are showing one another is just incredible. A new and beautiful day is rising, Trump told the world, and now the rebuilding begins. And so what happens now? I mean, obviously rebuilding, but now that we have this peace deal, and Israel's pulling out of certain areas back to a certain line and that type of thing. What does it look like now? Well, the next stages of a fragile peace plan is actually coming together through many questions. Of course, remain after President Trump's historic trip to the Middle East. Trump closed his whirlwind tour of the Middle East with a speech attended by dozens of world leaders. And after the initial phase of his plan for peace in Gaza secured the release of the last 20 living hostages from Hamas, Trump, in his Egypt speech, declared that now the rebuilding begins. But the president stated throughout his trip that the war is over. But many details remain unsettled while a tenuous ceasefire holds between Israel and Hamas. The region must solve pressing questions before anything resembling a Palestinian self-determination can be hoped for. Under the Trump peace plan, the Gaza enclave is to be administered by a mix of Palestinian and international technocrats led by former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, actually. Their work would be overseen by a board chaired by Trump, but the Palestinians who join the administration of Gaza must be committed to peace, and Hamas can have no part in it. Is a big part of this deal, which the terror group has not committed to. They are. We'll talk about what's happening now with them, but neither has Hamas committed to completely disarming either, and that's part of the deal as well. On the contrary, the terror group has reportedly started conducting public executions. But regardless of Hamas's actions, the prerequisite for Israel to sanction Palestinian self-determination has been firm. Gaza can no longer represent any meaningful threat to the Jewish state or its citizens. Trump championed the effort to rebuild Gaza that has already begun, starting with the aid flowing into the area. Humanitarian aid is now pouring in, including hundreds of truckloads of food and medical equipment and other supplies. Much of it paid for by people that Trump put it, are in this room. So a lot of the world leaders, obviously. The aid is needed and necessary to begin alleviating the worst conditions in Gaza, but the project of rebuilding the Strip will likely take decades of work and investment. For much of that support, the president has turned to Arab and Muslim leaders in the region. And security in Gaza will likely be led by an international force, mostly supplied from Arab and Muslim countries. Indonesia has committed to sending 20,000 troops to Gaza to act as a security force. Egyptian foreign minister said that Cairo was ready to commit forces as well, as long as the mission for such a force was made clear by the UN Security Council. Quote, "We are in the process now, as we speak, of providing training and coordination with Jordan to train up to 5,000 Palestinians to be deployed in Gaza. This is what they said to CBS News. Deployment of international forces is on the table, they said. So that's all really well and good, but as we spoke a little bit earlier, Hamas is still being Hamas. Hamas publicly executed at least 7 men on Monday, and it sounds like they're going house to house at this point, as the terror group moves to uh, regain control over the Gaza Strip after the ceasefire agreement with Israel. The men whom Hamas accused of working with Israeli forces were bound, dragged in front of a crowd of people, and forced on their knees. And according to the video, which I've seen, that was verified by Reuters and the BBC, Hamas fighters then shot each man in the back of the head. The terror group said that the men were criminals and collaborators with Israel. But since the ceasefire and the hostage deal with Israel, Hamas has been fighting rival groups in the Gaza Strip, seeking to reestablish dominance over Gazans. Dozens of people have been killed in skirmishes between Hamas and rival groups this week. Following the Trump brokered deal, Israeli forces partially withdrew from the Gaza Strip. Like I said, they're moving back to an agreed upon line near the Israeli border. And the hostage deal was only the first phase of Trump's 20-point peace plan for the region, and it does not require Hamas to disarm. Eventually will, but not the very first portion, of course, which is a vital piece, obviously, in the border goal. But on Monday, the terror group stood by its agreement to hand over the remaining 20 living hostages to Israel, but it failed to locate and hand over the remains of all the deceased hostages. So the living ones they let go, but they're not giving up the bodies of the ones that are dead, or very many anyway. Israel received the bodies of just 4 of the 28 hostages who died in Hamas captivity, leading to the accusations that the terror group is already failing to abide by the terms set out by the ceasefire agreement. In return for the hostages, Israel agreed to release nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, including hundreds of terrorists. So, again, this is something that gets kind of lost in the shuffle, I think. There's a lot of leftist liberals that are like, "Wow, the hostages that were being released, they were taken in by Israel, and now they're being released." No, they weren't hostages. Israel had no hostages. These were prisoners. These were terrorists. These were people who were not just taken as citizens like what Hamas did. Again, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's a great idea or not, Israel has been for a while now doing this kind of thing. They place a very high value on their hostages, and they're willing to give up prisoners, terrorists, and the like in order to get them back. And in this case, 28 versus 2,000, 28 hostages versus 2,000 prisoners. Hamas also accused Israel of violating the ceasefire agreement after Israeli troops fired upon Palestinians on Tuesday. But the Israel Defense Force said that the troops warned a group of people to turn back as they approached them in northern Gaza. And after multiple attempts to distance them, the suspects refused to comply, and prompting the troops to open fire to remove the threat. Reports of terrorists infiltrating the IDF position are incorrect, said the IDF. And the IDF urges Gaza residents to follow instructions and keep their distance from the IDF troops. President Trump spoke at the Knesset, and the Knesset is basically their legislature type of thing, and then traveled to Egypt to meet with Arab leaders, and like I say, it was kind of a whirlwind tour, to be honest with you. Quote, "This is not only the end of the war, it is the end of an age of terror and death, and the beginning of the age of faith, hope, and of God," he added. "This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East." While the Trump brokered ceasefire successfully returned the remaining living hostages to Israel, the other parts of Trump's proposed peace plan for the region remain unsettled. And so we'll keep an eye on how things are going there. Obviously, anytime that you have a vacuum of leadership, which is what's happening in this area, this Gaza Strip area, then it's going to be filled in with people. And so now that Hamas is not supposed to be in any kind of leadership position, there are others that are rising up to be in those leadership positions, and Hamas is taking them out. Is basically what's happening, and so it's going to be a real power struggle. We'll see what happens with it, but I thought it was rather interesting because and this kind of relates more to our end of things. But I did a Google search to try and find an article of pro-Palestinian protesters calling Israel, a genocidal nation and all this kind of stuff, right? I wanted to see them, like video or an article or something where they're celebrating the end of the war. And guess what? Crickets. Yeah, crickets. There's nothing out there. There's nowhere are you finding these pro-Palestinian people who have been saying genocide. Israel committing a genocide. None of them are celebrating the fact that, well, guess what? Let's just say, for argument's sake, you're right. I mean, they're not, but I mean, let's just say that they're right, that Israel was conducting a genocide here. Well, you should be celebrating that genocide is now over, shouldn't you be? And I mean, there's nothing, and what that means is that this was never about a genocide or whatever. It was just very anti-Israel, and this was their excuse to be anti-Israel and be vocal about being anti-Israel. Because if you really cared about the citizens, then you would actually care about the citizens of Gaza. And in this case, I mean, if you really did care about the citizens of Gaza, then what would you be doing right now? You'd be celebrating, number one, the end of the war. And number two, you'd be all over Hamas because they're taking citizens out of their homes. They're going door to door, taking citizens out of their homes. They're lining up in the street and they're shooting them in the head. They're executing citizens of Gaza. So, I mean, that's about as close as a genocide as you're going to get, right? But do you hear anything from these pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel type of protesters? Nope. You're hearing nothing. Nothing on the side of trying to protest against Hamas. Protest against these killings of Gazan citizens. And again, it's because they don't care about the citizens of Gaza. That is all a ruse. That is all a lie. And it always has been. Just like the lie that Israel was committing a genocide, right? It was a big, fat, hairy lie, and it was untrue. But it was a means to an end, which is a very much of a leftist liberal type of thing to do, is say anything, do anything. The ends justify the means. Doesn't matter if you lie. Doesn't matter if you're wrong. Doesn't matter any of that, as long as you can have the ending that you want. And the ending that they wanted is they wanted the world against Israel, and this was a way to do that. And this peace deal has now exposed them. And there's no going back from this. There's no turning around and saying, "Oh yeah, we really do care about the citizens of Gaza." That's baloney. You absolutely do not. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the interesting part here. But there was more going on than the peace deal this week. I mean, obviously that was huge, but there was more. We are right in the middle of a government shutdown, and I mean, I told you I will tell you when I'm wrong. and I was a little bit wrong on this. I said a couple weeks ago that I thought that this, the first few days that this government shutdown happened, that it wasn't going to last very long, and it's definitely lasted a lot longer than I thought. But it's lasted a lot longer than I thought for some reasons, and one of those reasons is the Democratic Party wants it. In a stunning admission that undercut weeks of Democratic spin, Senator John Fetterman, remember him? He's the Democrat from Pennsylvania. Yeah, he's kind of an interesting guy, isn't he? Well, he dropped a political grenade at a News Nation town hall at the Kennedy Center this week, squarely blaming his own party for the federal government shutdown. Yeah, Fetterman didn't mince words. He said, quote, "That's why shutting the government is really what the Democratic Party wants to do." That's what he told the moderator, Chris Cuomo, to audience applause, actually. Quote, "I follow country, then party. And and it's the wrong thing for the country." He made clear that he would not support using shutdown as leverage in negotiations. Fetterman, one of the Senate's most outspoken members currently, openly criticized Democrats for structuring the Affordable Care Act. That's of course Obamacare, right? And its subsidies to expire at the end of 2025. Quote, "This was designed by the Democratic Party to expire at the end of the year. This is not something taken by the Republicans." So, and what he's saying here is that the Democratic Party is saying, "Well, the Republicans are trying to take away health care from all these people," and he's trying to set the record straight. No, that's not what's happening. It's the Democratic Party that said it, that made it to sunset this year. This is not something the Republicans are taking away from people. So yeah, the translation that the expiration wasn't some conservative plot. It was baked into the policy by Democrats themselves. And he added that while he supports extending those subsidies, it should happen without holding the federal government hostage. Quote, "Let's have a conversation to extend it and not to shut the government down." The statement sent shockwaves throughout Washington, of course, and drew praise from Republicans who quickly seized on the validation. This wasn't Fetterman's first warning shot, though. I mean, back in March, he declared flatly on X, "Never, never, never vote for a shutdown, ever." He actually wrote that. In early October, he reinforced the same position when he said, "When the Republicans were doing it, we rightly criticized them. Don't shut it down. It's fundamentally wrong." Fetterman was so committed to avoiding a shutdown that in late September, he became one of the 3 Democrats in the Senate to vote for the Republican-crafted continuing resolution, the CR, to keep the government running. A temporary bill, of course, that kept funding flat, but didn't address the Democratic healthcare priorities. And he also voted for the Democratic version, which would have extended Obamacare subsidies, but failed to pass, of course. In his logic, well, support both if it meant avoiding chaos. And that's what he's saying. So, quote, "My vote affirms that. Despite their refusal to restore health care, I am unwilling to vote to shut down our government and unleash massive national chaos." Fetterman's move is rare in today's polarized Senate. The left wants to blame the House Speaker Mike Johnson, of course, and the Senate Republicans. But Fetterman's words really shredded that narrative. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, when this comes to an end. Right now, the Democrats like what's happening, even though, gosh, I mean, I don't know, they're just not very bright. Their leadership in Washington is just not doing well right now, and so we'll see how it goes. But that's what's happening there. Well, Getting on to some celebrity news. This is kind of interesting. It's kind of a mix of political and celebrity. Former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Remember him? Yeah, he wasn't very good, was he? Well, he allegedly was spotted locked in a passionate embrace and appearing to kiss pop singer Katy Perry on a yacht, seemingly confirming the rumors that the two were romantically involved. Um, Judging by the pictures I've seen, yeah, they're romantically involved. Anyway, Perry pulled up her boat next to a small public whale watching boat, and then they started making out. A witness, took some pictures and reported this to the Daily Mail. Quote, I didn't realize who she was until I saw the tattoo on the guy's arm, and I immediately realized it was Justin Trudeau. The images were captured last month off the coast of Santa Barbara, California, but just recently went viral. The photos follow their sighting during they were together in July at a restaurant in Montreal. Trudeau was 53 and attended a concert stop on Perry's Lifetimes tour the following night with his teen daughter, is what the reports were. Well, videos from the event show Trudeau smiling and singing along enthusiastically to Firework and Roar and Dark Horse. I think I the only one, to be honest with you, again, I'm not a celebrity guy. I know of Firework. I've heard that song before. The other two, I don't know, maybe if I heard it, I don't know. But anyway, in July, Perry, who's 40, by the way, announced she was splitting from her fiance of 6 years, Orlando Bloom. The two share a 4-year-old daughter together. Quote, due to the abundance of um, recent interest and conversation surrounding Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry's relationship, representatives have confirmed that Orlando and Katy have been shifting their relationship over the past many months to focus on co-parenting. Quote, they will continue to be seen together as a family as they shared priority is and always will be raising their daughter. Her daughter is Daisy Dove, I guess is her name, with love, stability, and mutual respect. Trudeau, of course, split from his wife of 18 years just 2 years ago in 2023. Both Trudeau and Perry have experienced negative publicity in recent years. Trudeau resigned from office just this year amidst the dissatisfaction from voters over multiple issues such as immigration and cost of living and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Perry was mercilessly mocked in April for joining the much hyped all-female Blue Origin space flight. Remember that? Yeah, she was also blasted for her Lifetimes tour, which got terrible reviews. The Grammy Award-winning singer called her critics unhinged and unhealed. Isn't that precious? Anyway, wanted to end today on something, and this is a little closer to where we have this podcast and where it originates. Hundreds of naked protesters in Portland participated in a nude die-in on Sunday in a bid to stop President Donald Trump's mass deportation campaign. The nude bikers paraded their bodies around the city before dropping to the ground on a bridge. Yes. Yeah. I would say go look for the photos of this, but you don't really want to do that either. Yeah, they did that where they pretended to be dead. At one point, armed federal agents could be seen on the roof of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building, looking down at the unsightly spectacle. I'm sorry for them. Emergency World naked bike ride participants normally ride around in their birthday suits in the summer in the name of saving the climate. But the group decided there was an urgent need to demonstrate against Trump's plan to deploy troops to Portland to quell anti-ICE agitators, according to the Associated Press. Quote, we're here today because we strongly believe that we do not need federal troops in Portland or in Oregon or at all. It is electric, so fun. It's so Portland, just keeping everything weird, said Saturn is her name. She's another naked bike rider. Yeah. Yeah. White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt took the X saying that if you think this is crazy, congratulations, you're a Republican. Yeah. Yeah, we think it's funny too. It's kind of it's kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, I just have a couple things here. I mean, I would definitely caution anyone that hears this podcast, do not buy a used bike from Portland. Yeah. You don't want to buy a used bike from Portland. And my question too is, how are they going to sanitize that bridge? I mean, I've driven over that bridge before. How are they going to sanitize that thing? I mean, if you see some of the pictures of that, anyway. But lastly, I think it would have been really entertaining if they had actually raised the bridge while they were on it, because it's a raised bridge. And if they had raised that bridge while they were on it and watched all the people roll down, I don't know. Yeah, it would have been entertaining either way. Anyway, just kind of a funny low key thing here that again, you probably don't want to go look for the pictures of, but hey, it's up to you. Love to hear from you, of course. If you go to our website, uncommonsensepodcast.com. Thank you for listening.
This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.